Welcome to the Simplified Organizations Show, where real moms chat about real life and how to manage our responsibilities at home while prioritizing our people. We want to banish overwhelm, fulfill our callings, and stay cheerful while we do so, because God is working in and through us. I'm your host, Misty Winkler, a second generation homeschooling mom of five. I write and podcast at simplyconvivial.com about homemaking, homeschooling, and doing life cheerfully. I'm also the author of the Convivial Homeschool, Gospel Encouragement for Keeping Your Sanity While Living and Learning Alongside Your Kids. And today I'm joined by Ashley Weaver. Ashley is a former English teacher, a current homeschool mom of 3 elementary age kids. She shares about her favorite biblically based, Charlotte Mason inspired homeschool resources and tips on her YouTube channel, Joyful Noise Learning. Ashley loves to make people laugh and to inspire others to live from the joy of Jesus among the noise in life and homeschooling. So thank you so much for joining me, Ashley.
Thanks so much for having me, Misty.
Yeah. So what is kind of on your plate right now at home as a homeschool mom?
Well, you did kind of describe most of it there in my bio, but I've been homeschooling. This will be my 8th year now.
Nice.
I have an 11-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a almost 7-year-old. So they're all 3 in the throes of elementary age. And my oldest is moving into that middle school age. And oh, wow, that's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So I've been managing the home like we all homeschool moms do. And I do volunteer at my church. I love doing that. I like singing on worship. I do a little bit of life group stuff. And I just got asked to help with high school youth groups. So that's going to be exciting. And I'm happy to do that. But then other than that, I've got my YouTube channel as my side stuff my hobby on the side. And that's been growing over the last couple of years. And that's been a lot of fun to share everything I'm learning from homeschooling with other moms.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's one of the fun things about homeschooling for sure is how much we learn. Like we're supposed to be helping our kids
Oh, yeah.
learn, and we do, but we learn a lot in that process for sure.
Uh-huh.
So with 3 kids, kind of all school age now, and church stuff and home stuff, and all the people, also need to eat and wear clean clothes.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yes.
easy to feel scattered and like we can't keep track of all that there is to do because there's so many, even just so many little things that keep piling up to do. So what would you say to the mom who feels kind of scattered and at a loss?
Well, I have to say that with the Myers-Briggs personality stuff, I am an ENFP. So I'm just kind of a naturally scatterbrained. So I've been feeling scattered for most of my life. So maybe there's some moms out there who can relate to me. And it's not necessarily always something of my own doing. It's just, life happens, all the little pieces. And with being an ENFP, I'm a big ideas person. All the options open. The world is my open option for everything. And sometimes all those options open just really make me feel like there's just too many choices and I have no clue what we're doing today. So I know that scattered feeling like so well. And really it started with motherhood for me when I was just managing myself, and maybe even like early married times. It wasn't a big deal. It was just me. It was just the two of us. And I realized when I had my child, oh my gosh, there's so much more to manage now other than just myself. And I had to learn how to manage myself and things for my children. And the more children I added, the more I got better at it because I got practicing. So if you look at me when I had one child, oh my goodness, I don't want to go back to her some days, but man, I feel for that gal. So the laundry was never done, the meals were never made, and meal planning was like impossible for me at that stage of my life. But I don't know how I do it now. But the whole point is I practiced,
Yeah.
like practicing one little thing at a time. And it took just planning my dinners for 1 week. And it was just something small and simple. And eventually it's like, okay, now I'm going to start planning lunches, things like that. So I would say it's just that one little step at a time and not feeling like you have to eat the whole elephant all at once. Right. I love that phrase. Have you heard that, Misty? How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Yes.
So that is one thing that I have learned over the last several years, learning to be a little less scattered.
Yes. Yes. I do. It seems sometimes like the more that is on my plate, the more I have to do. Almost the I have to get more organized and learn how to manage that scattered feeling. I think sometimes it's easy to think like we have to be totally on top of everything before we can add one more thing. And then sometimes more is just added without us being prepared for it. But sometimes that is just the way that we learn to actually, expand our capacity.
Exactly. And I'm one of those people where I learn by doing. I have to, like, you can kind of show me, but I'm like, if we're playing a board game, I'm like, you can show me a few of the rules, but I'm like, let's just start playing the game. I'm just gonna learn it along the way anyway. So don't go over the whole game with me. Just give me a couple of tips and then we'll just jump into it and I'll figure it out along the way.
Uh-huh. So what are some of the things that then you practice?
The one of the biggest things that has changed my life, and really it came a lot from you, Misty, and what I learned from you several years ago when I started all your courses, but is the time blocking and not seeing each thing as my tasks as individual tasks throughout the day, but seeing my day as in chunks of time and time blocks. And that took a few years to really practicing, to really figure out what do my time blocks look like and how do I manage that throughout the day. But oh my gosh, it changed my life. It really did. I instead of seeing, okay, I can list all these things in my head that have to be done. Dishes, laundry, homeschooling, groceries, meal planning, we can go off the list. And those are just to name a few. But instead of seeing all those lists as one giant task, I took all of them and categorized them, kind of like you suggested, my vocations, and then I blocked them off in time chunks and that's just what I do. So I have a chunk of time, but the reason I do that is I can give my full attention to one thing at a time,
Yeah.
and that is huge, especially in the Charlotte Mason homeschooling thing. The habit of attention is a big thing that I've been training myself in, and I've been training my kids in. But I can give my full attention focus to one focus at a time, and that helps with the scattered because if I'm in my homeschool block, I'm not thinking about my housework block. Or if I'm in my working block, like doing my online work, I'm not thinking about my, volunteer church stuff because I'm not there. It's not Sunday morning on that time, but I can focus on one thing at a time. And that is a huge thing to do when you are feeling scattered as well.
Mhm. Yeah, that's such a good point.
The blocks don't have to be like the same chunk of time. That's another big thing that I've learned is the time blocks can be like maybe your self-care block is like 45 minutes. I would really like, if I'm honest, I would love a good 2 hours for like my devotion, my exercise, my breakfast, my getting ready. I don't look like this every day. I had a good 2 hour block today, so this is why I look like this. But if we have sometimes my time block is just 45 minutes and my homeschool block is a good 4 hours. So the
Mhm.
time chunks don't have to be the same. It is not every 2 hours I switch. We're not machines. We're humans. They can ebb and flow. And like my house care block is only like an hour. We've kind of like narrowed it down where I have a good focus time of working on the housework for an hour. And I know that time is coming. So when I'm in homeschool, I'm not thinking about the dishes over there
Yes.
or or the vacuuming or the washing the windows. I can focus
Mhm.
on homeschool 100%.
Mhm. Yeah, when, we just have a to-do list that's super long and we think like in linear terms, like I'm just going to move through this list one by one, but the list is never actually complete. And our
Oh,
time and our energy just doesn't work that way. So that's a great tip.
and yeah, laundry was probably like there was that mountain of laundry all the time. And when I realized it takes 5 minutes for me to start a load. It's not a 6 hour process. I can start the load. It's ready, and now I move on with my day.
Hmm.
Laundry done.
What are some of
Uh,
your
an-
other practices?
Another practice would be putting away distractions because
Mm,
sometimes our scatteredness can come from just being super distracted and not focused in and narrowed in on what God has called us to in this season or in this day and moment.
Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Simplified Organization Show. And be sure to come back next week when I have part 2 of my conversation with Ashley Weaver, where she shares the remaining 2 things that she practices that help her to be not scattered with all the details that go into making up home life. If time budgeting and time blocking sounds interesting to you, but you need some guidance to set it up, then I have a free resource just for you. Go to simplyconvivial.com/timeblock to get time management resources that will help you stay on top of your duties at home and outside the home as well. That's simplyconvivial.com/timeblock. And if this episode was encouraging to you, I would so much appreciate it if you would share it with a friend who would also be encouraged by hearing about these ideas and testimonies from other moms at home. We are not alone if we are struggling with staying on top of the details of life, but we don't have to give up. We can keep practicing, as Ashley said. So come back next time, and until then, repent, rejoice, repeat.